any size succeed in a community like Lethbridge, it makes life better not just for the business owners, but also for their families, their employees, their suppliers, their customers, other local businesses, and so on. So business success breeds community success in our view, and the Lethbridge Chamber of Commerce, as the voice for business in Lethbridge. I'm getting dinged here. I'll hurry up, don't worry. So the Lethbridge Chamber of Commerce works to ensure that conditions favor business success in our community. A crucial component to that effort is making sure our City Council understands the important business issues and works with the Chamber and organizations that have business as a focus to make those issues better. Now, each of the candidates received a series of questions posed by the Chamber, and those had a decidedly business-oriented flavor to them. Their responses, along with a brief biography, are available in the written packages of material that you had the opportunity to pick up tonight up on the foyer level there. Those packages, I believe, are also available in a PDF format on the Lethbridge Chamber website at lethbridgechamber.com. At least we've done that in the past. So I'd like to thank all of you who are in attendance tonight and to those who may be watching via live stream. And I'd like to give a special thanks to Lethbridge Link for making that happen tonight. Those of you who are active in the Twitter sphere may send a tweet to @LethChamber with a question directed to one of the candidates. In the course of doing that, you may wish to use a hashtag YQLVote. That's a popular hashtag in election time in Lethbridge and has been used on previous occasions. Questions relating to business will be selected first. Due to time constraints, not all questions may be selected, but we'll certainly do our best. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our timekeeper tonight. His former worship, Mayor Bob Tarlick, is keeping time tonight. He has assured me that he'll be doing so with lead pipe cruelty. That means that you have to stick to your time frames tonight, and I'll talk about those. I'll talk about those in a minute when I'm talking about the format of the forum. You've already seen him ding me. He'll have no problem dinging anybody else. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our media panel tonight. That's the panel that's sitting to the left of me on the right-hand side of your stage. First of all, to my immediate left, we have Dory Modney from Country 95.5 and B93.3. Next to Dory, we have Nick Kuhl from Lethbridge Herald. Sitting immediately to the left of Nick is Terry Fikowski with Global Lethbridge. Next to Terry is Tim Rempel with Lethbridge Living magazine. And finally on the end we have Verl Todd with 94.1 CJOC FM. Thank you very much to our media panel for coming tonight. Now, in terms of the format of our event tonight, we're going to start with a speech by each of the candidates by way of introduction. Those speeches will be timed and will not exceed 2 minutes. I repeat, will not exceed 2 minutes. The candidates will be called upon in alphabetical order by surname. Thereafter, we're going to go to our question period, and that will involve rotating questions. First of all, we'll take verbal questions from the audience from the microphone. I would prefer if you do come to the microphone so that everybody can hear your question. We'll also alternate that with written questions from the audience, and those can be either handwritten questions. There's materials available on the foyer level there. Or, of course, as I said before, you can tweet your questions using @LethChamber. And, of course, you can use the hashtag. If you're writing your questions out, if you've written that out, just give it a wave, and we have people that are going to come around and pick up those questions, and then we bring them back here, and they hopefully find their way out to me for those written questions. And then after that, we're going to have a question from our media panel, and we'll just cycle through like that. That will take us to approximately 8:30. At that point, we will go to our closing remarks by the candidates, and then my closing remarks for the evening. And we're looking to be done by 9 o'clock. Now, in terms of written questions, we would ask that if you're going to do a written question, whether you're writing it down on paper or via Twitter, that you direct that to a candidate. We reserve the right to direct it to a candidate if there is no candidate that is selected on the question. Your question, when you're asking a question from the microphone, your question cannot exceed 30 seconds in length. You will, of course, get cut off if you go longer than that. We're trying to avoid having people give really long preambles or introductions to their questions. I would point out, this looks like a really well-behaved crowd. I can just see it from here. But I would ask everyone to observe the best rules of decorum. We'll certainly try not to talk over each other this evening. And we will not tolerate heckling from the audience. The responses from the candidates will be limited to 1 minute for their response. Each candidate has 2 rebuttal cards. Those are yellow rebuttal cards, and they will use those to wave them to indicate that they want to rebut or weigh in on a response that has been given by a candidate to a question. In the event that we run out of those rebuttal cards, I may be selling some of them later on. We'll discuss terms.
Say, Jack.
All right, without further ado, I'm going to very briefly introduce the candidates, and then we'll go to the introductory speeches. So we have this evening all of our candidates here. Initially, way down on the far left-hand side of your stage is Marco Bergeron. Give us a wave. Beside Marco is Pat Berthelot. Oh, and they're not in the same order. We have Peter Days here. Yep. We have Yves Gauthier. Beside Yves is Martin Heavyhead. Beside Martin is Kevin Layton. Next we have Bridget Mearns. Then Chris Rowley. Joey Shackelford. And finally, Rena Wass. Welcome to all the candidates. At this point, we'll go to our candidates' introductory speeches. Remember, candidates, these are 2 minutes, and they will commence when you actually start speaking. And as I indicated, we're going alphabetical by surname, and so that would have Marco Bergeron first.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. So that's what he say. My name is Marco Bergeron, and I'm also a natural health practitioner, so I work a lot with the health to people. And also I'm a trustee for the school board, so I know how it works, a council or a board. And the trustee is very close to the parents, because parents all the time need something, so we need to fighting or be the voice of the parents. That's the same thing for me for the council, the city council. We need to be close to the citizen. So for me, we have 3 things for everything what we do. And the first thing is building a house or whatever it is in the town. We need to keep high to the security, and of course quality of life and enjoyable activity. That's a good things for me. It's important things, everything what we decide, because there's a group of family. The second thing is the culture. We need to take care about the culture in town too, and the quality of employment too. We have a different kind. We have mechanic people. We have a different people. We need to take care about that too, and support to help the new businesses. So the small business, and to invite the bigger business too. And of course, the last things what I would like to work to, it's about the services for citizens, services for commerce, for business, and you pay the price, and you're supposed to have the right service for the price what you pay.
10 seconds. Pat, just before you go, I should have probably mentioned that we'd ask everybody to turn their phones to silent. before we go further. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the Chamber of Commerce for having us. My name is Pat Berthlot, and I'll get right to the point. While campaigning for this by-election, something has become painfully obvious to me. Our city is squandering its greatest resource, and that resource is its people. I'm not talking about councillors who hit the ground running. I'm talking about people who plow our snow, light our lights, dig our ditches, teach our schools, put out our fires. Our councillors are not allowed to speak to any of these people. These people are not allowed to publicly have an opinion. They are the people who know a better way to do the job. They are the people who know a better way to solve a problem. They include the people who maybe could put out a fire quicker or curb violence better. These people can reduce our taxes by offering solutions to save money and save time by doing things differently or better. These are the people who love our city, who dedicate their life and their lives to work, making our city the best it could be. These people, folks, are disenfranchised. They do not have the rights that we are guaranteed in our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It doesn't take 2 minutes to find a City of Lethbridge employee who will agree that if they speak up about stuff, they will either lose their job or sense a personal censure or even litigation. These are the people who should be rewarded for their hard work and dedication. Instead, they face oppression. There are groups in the city some might feel have a sense of entitlement, and that makes me ill. Current council and all previous council know exactly what I'm talking about, and they choose to ignore it. As a matter of fact, they censor councillors for daring to speak to the people I'm talking about. There are no issues. The biggest issue the city of Lethbridge has, and it is heart-wrenching for all who face this issue every day, every year. They are the ones who we should be listening to, not hearing only what upper management wants us to hear. We need to hear their voices. We need to have them join their community. We need to help them grow and prosper in our city. No, I'm not going to hit the ground running because I have nothing to run from. I'm not part of the pall of silence, and I never will be. On May 12th, I need your vote. I need your neighbors' vote. I need the city employees' vote. I will work to change that. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Peter Days.
Good evening, and thank you to the Chamber for hosting this forum tonight, and thank you for taking the time to become an informed voter. Well, in the words of Yogi Berra, it's like deja vu all over again. For those of you who were here in last October, I was one of the 29 candidates who was at this forum. I ended up in 10th place. Leah Switzer ended up 9th. I ended up 10th, just 217 votes short of the 8th and final council spot. But in the words of a poet, if the first you don't succeed, try again. The ABCs of my campaign are on this brochure. They include an awareness of issues. I have been attending council meetings for the past couple of months, so I'm aware of what's going on. I have a business background. I used to be the station manager of Global Lethbridge, and I'm familiar with hold-the-line budgets and finding efficiencies and commitment. And I think this is an important one. I'm currently semi-retired, and I have the time to commit to doing the job and serving you on council. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe this by-election is more than just filling a vacancy on council, and I think it comes down to more than just experience. Last October, you voted a new mayor, and as well, 3 new council members, and they charted a new direction for the city. Within months of being elected, this new council reviewed the practice of spending your tax dollars to provide them with lunch and seat administration on Monday meetings. It was a small move, but it was one that could save you $26,000. So now the choice is yours, and that's why your vote is vital. You will decide whether we go back to the old way of doing things or whether we continue in the new direction that this new council has set. On May 12th, I ask you to vote days to bring a new and fresh perspective to council and to continue the momentum of change. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Yves Gauthier.
Good evening, everybody. I am an ex-military, 15 years in. Did 10 years as a tool and die maker, specialized in polishing in Windsor, Ontario. Before our auto industry actually took off for India and China. Moved to Calgary, worked over there for as machinist, and moved to here in Lethbridge with my wife, Dr. Capisonda, and been here for 6 years. 3 years ago, I loaned 5 sculptures to the Gallup Museum. One came back broken, And it sent me into a tailspin. Although it was insured by the city of Lethbridge, we're now 2.5 years later, and $20,000 worth of lawyers. We're still not done, and they're refusing to actually acknowledge their responsibilities. I'm ready to defend any artist and any broken art that comes under their arms anyway. For the past few months, I've been assisting to almost every council meeting that's been going on here in Lethbridge. And I have seen that the whole council is actually very, very working together. And the only impasse that we're getting into is we're getting no answers from the city manager or any good positive outcome out of it. If you would like to see my sculpture upstairs, it represents my vision of the city manager and how his attitude is towards art, especially. And please help me give him his pink slip. Thank you.
Next is Martin Heavyhead.
Hello, my name is Martin Heavyhead. I am from southern Alberta. My family tree goes back in this area about 10,000 years, give or take a few. I originally ran in the election previously on a platform of social justice, urban agriculture, in order to set up the infrastructure for a world that my peers, my children, my grandchildren face, focusing on community gardens, focusing on what we can do as a municipality in order to confront these problems. Though this by-election, something has become more increasingly important to me politically, and that's actually dealing and encountering the street people in a more meaningful way. This is, I don't even want to say an issue. The way that our society has been encountering homelessness, but not even homelessness, just the people of the street, there's a better way of doing it, and it doesn't come from an outsider perspective. What's wrong with this? I do believe that an inside understanding would make all the difference. I do believe compassion would make all the difference. And I intend to continue with that whether I'm elected or not. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Mr. Layton, Kevin Layton, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've been trying to figure out for a while what I was going to say today. And all I could think about was you. I am here today because of you. Your issues, your concerns, your comments. I am here to listen to you as your new city councilor. You need someone on council that cares about every citizen of this city. Not just big money, not just big business, but everybody. Even the little person, even the ones that most people walk over and forget about. I'm here for you. I care about you. I want to know what Lethbridge means to you. People on city council get paid by you. Your money, their job, yeah, they get called politicians, but they're employees. and you are the boss. You need to remember that. On election day, you are the boss. And every day in between election days, they work for you. And I would be honored to work for you. Thank you.
Next candidate is Bridget Mearns. Bridget, before you start speaking, just a reminder, if you're filling out those questions, those written questions, when you're done filling them out, just wave them. We have a couple of runners over on the far side of the auditorium that will be happy to come pick those questions up from you. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you to the Chamber and the volunteers and the media, but most importantly, thank you for being engaged and being here tonight. When I ran for mayor, I knew there was a chance that I might not be elected and therefore not be on council. It was a risk I was willing to take. I never imagined there'd be another opportunity to work for you. Although under horrible circumstances, there is this opportunity. In 2010, I was elected to council with the third largest vote and second in the mayoral race. I want to thank the citizens for their tremendous support. Since the election, many people have expressed their disappointment I'm no longer on council. And although it's flattering, that's not the reason I'm running for re-election. To be perfectly frank, having been away from council now for 7 months, I miss it. I accomplished a lot, and I'm proud of the work that I did. I spearheaded many initiatives that made our city better, and I want to see them to fruition. In 2010, I promised to be fiscally and environmentally responsible, open, transparent, and collaborative, and make decisions that were in the best interest of Lethbridge, the best interest of you. I drew from my 20 years of diverse business experience and community engagement, and I delivered. As a councillor, I sat on 11 committees. As chair of the Open and Effective Government Committee, I initiated changes that increased community and business input into the operating and capital budget, and enhanced council transparency and communication. As a member of the Environment Committee, I moved forward environmental initiatives that had stalled for years, including moving us that much closer to curbside recycling. I opposed oil and gas drilling in Lethbridge since 2012. I supported initiatives that will contribute to a vibrant downtown. I advocated to the provincial government to save our integrated fire and EMS system. I brought forward initiatives and supported an operating budget that saw the lowest tax increase in 10 years. I want to continue to serve you with that same passion, drive, and now experience I did from 2010 to 2013. So thank you for your attention tonight, and I look forward to your questions.
Our next candidate is Chris Rowley.
My name is Chris Rowley, and I'm running for a seat on Lethbridge City Council. I was born in Raymond, Alberta, where I lived until I finished junior high. I moved to Okotoks, where I finished high school, after which I moved back to Lethbridge. Some of the boards I have sat on are the Lethbridge Association for Community Living, Chinook Autism Society, Southern Alberta Individualized Planning Association, South Region Self Advocacy Network, and People First of Alberta. What I'd like to see more of in City Council is accountability, increased involvement of the stakeholders in major decisions, and increased youth involvement. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Joey Shackelford.
Thanks to the Chamber again for this opportunity to speak to people and for everybody coming out tonight. My name is Joey Shackelford. I'm a retired high school teacher. I taught in Lethbridge School District 51 for many years. I'm now retired and I work part-time downtown because I want to, not because I have to. I'm very lucky. I believe in downtown and it's a great place to work. I believe in a balanced approach to good government. Let's make financial decisions based on needs, not wants. Special interest groups in Lethbridge are very vocal. They have a passion for what they believe in, and that's a good thing. But be patient, your turn will come, and the city's moving forwards, not backwards, and we just need to kind of share the wealth a little bit. I believe that most financial decisions should be based on how it affects the most vulnerable in society, not the most affluent people. Seniors on a fixed income, a single mom with 3 kids, When you start, utilities up, taxes up, that's who it affects the most, and that's what we need to keep in mind when we're making those financial decisions. Not all decisions are about money with the city. I think people are the forgotten part of this whole thing. I rarely hear people talk about how it affects people, how it affects citizens. And it's very important that we bring back that into the equation and how it affects everybody in this town, from the have-nots to the haves. And that's how we need to make a lot of those decisions, based on that. We represent all people in Lethbridge, not a select few. And I believe in independent thinking as well. Council needs to have 9 different opinions, but be able to come together with a consensus that will benefit all people in Lethbridge. And that's the whole idea of City Council. Thank you.
Our final candidate, at least alphabetically speaking, is Rena Wass. Rena.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming out. I'm Rena Wass. I'm asking for your vote so that Council has a strong voice for financial accountability, environment, and downtown revitalization. I was born and raised in Lethbridge. I'm a tradesperson working in a non-traditional job, and a small business owner, contracting, design, and decorating. So over the years, I've had to manage all aspects of business, from payroll and finance, hiring, firing, apprenticing, bidding on tenders, all of it. I've even written programs for Alberta Advanced Education, and I've operated a satellite school for pre-apprenticeship. Running a business has equipped me with real-life experience in matters of finance. I'm able to recognize questionable business practices and expenditures, and ask hard questions of administrators so that we can ensure costly mistakes are averted and that absolute accountability is in place. I regularly attend council meetings and have over many years. I've made many presentations, and many of you have probably seen my letters to the editor. I'm a member of several environment groups, and I'm currently engaged in water issues, and I've been fighting to protect our city from oil and gas drilling, and yay, we had a victory there, but our work is not over. One area I'd really like to work on is to have our city be known for renewable energy. I mean, after all, we're the sun and wind capital of Canada, and in all the councils that have come and gone, none of them has said, hey, we've got these resources here. It's $1 billion industry. I would like us to be part of that success. Green jobs. The $26 million CASA building, that is a clear indication of how much we need someone that has that environmental awareness. I hope to get your vote. Thank you.
Thank you to all the candidates for some very effective opening remarks. At this point, we'll start our question round. As I indicated before, we're going to commence with questions from the media panel. So each member of our media panel is going to have the opportunity to ask a question directed to a candidate of their choosing. They're going to ask a question that will be 30 seconds in length or shorter. And as I indicated also before, the candidate response will be 1 minute for each response. Candidates, don't forget your rebuttal cards. We don't want to have a flurry of rebuttal cards at the very end. You have them, use them. So I think the media panel did some arm wrestling for right to go first, and Dory won that. So.
Yes, I did.
Dory Mahdi, please.
Thank you. Just building on what Rena had to say here, and I'll reference the question to you. I've noticed that a lot of your outdoor signs have made reference to the fact, to green jobs. In your view, is it City Hall's responsibility to act as a job creator, green or otherwise?
The city, when a city takes a leadership role on important things like the environment, the rest follows suit. If we have a strong voice in council, which currently we do not, one strong voice can make all the difference in the world. I've been part of many successful endeavors. The Astronomy Society, we were a nickel and dime organization. Today we are regarded to be the finest club-owned center in all of Canada. I have that ability, and I would like to see us be successful in renewable energy. The Casa building could have showcased for our residents what was possible. It could have been clad in solar panels on a geothermal feed-in tariff, net zero. It isn't. Why isn't it? We've got the resources, just like we've got the soil. We're known for agriculture. I would like us to be known for a whole lot more. And that would stabilize our economy and diversify it.
10 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just had a momentary difficulty with our time clock. So we'll struggle along as best we can. Any rebuttal cards that want to be played on that? Green jobs? If not, then I think we're moving to Nick Cool.
Hey, question for Joey. Some people have criticized council's financial allocations in support of sporting events like the Tour of Alberta bike race, bidding for the Canada Winter Games. Others argue they could be considered as great investments. You mentioned sort of needs versus wants. Where does this sort of line up? My question is, are these attempts by the city worth the money to help promote Lethbridge, and why?
Well, I think that's a bit of a double-edged sword in a way. I'm a retired teacher. I taught physical education and health for many, many years. And so anything to showcase, fitness and that type of thing, I'm for. The trickle-down effect, I understand that. They say it's going to bring in a lot of people. It brings in money for hotels, restaurants, those types of things. I understand that as well. But in these financial times, the other part of me, I like to look at both sides of the ledger. Let's take care of our basic needs first. We all realize, was it 6 weeks ago, the water scare we had. I remember driving to the west side and stopping in Safeway. It was like panic buying. People were just frantic. And I thought, well, I'll just go home and boil some water and it'll be okay. The city did the smart thing, I think, and shut down the water treatment plant just to make sure. But let's make sure our water treatment plants, our wastewater treatment plants, those types of things are up to snuff, meet environmental standards, okay? And then we have money to do these extra things. I don't have a problem with that.
Thank you, Joey. Just so that you're aware, we're having a little bit of difficulty with our clock. I am keeping time as well up here. I will try to give you a 10-second warning. With that, I think we are going to Terry Fikowski.
Okay, I'll direct my question to Martin Heavyhead. You just mentioned in your opening statement that City Council is not properly dealing with the problem of street homelessness and that there's a better way to do it. I was just wondering what you believe that better way of doing it would be.
I'd like to correct if I was mistaken. I didn't say that City Council was having a problem. I said society in general. The way that we collectively deal with, again, the most vulnerable. I think right now there is Bringing Lethbridge Home. I really do like that program, as well as what is it? SHIA, SHIA? Is that the name? And so there are efforts made, and at the same time, I believe that to have supports in place, like we look at Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, people need some basic things. The first being their survival needs met, in the middle, their social needs, at the top, their spiritual,
10
become
seconds.
a whole person. And ensuring that that there is a social floor that nobody can go beyond, nobody can go below. That's a responsibility of politicians and leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Right on time. Any rebuttal cards on that? Yes, Joey.
Yeah, Martin brings up a very good point, and I'd like to give a shout out to Dr. Bowie and that Social Housing Action Committee. They've done a fantastic job. I think a lot of these issues in Lethbridge are kind of intermingled. We've talked about the homelessness problem downtown, which affects the BRZ downtown, which affects, and it just kind of snowballs and snowballs and snowballs. And I think what's happened with the Social Housing Committee, getting affordable housing for people and working with that very vulnerable group in our society has had a very positive effect on the downtown core and how people perceive that downtown core. And as I said, I think it's snowballed and it affects just so many things in our city that it needs to be acknowledged.
Thank you, Mr. Shackelford. When you're done with your response, I'm going to come and grab your rebuttal card. But I think you want to play your rebuttal card? Yeah.
So, talking about homeless, as a city, I'd like to see mixed low-income housing, so not just have it be grouped in one location, because the low-income housing has this perspective in Lethbridge that it's going to be drugs all the time and stuff, and in some cases it is, but if you have it mixed low-income with others, then that helps prevent that.
Thank you, Chris Rowley. Any others? Seeing no other rebuttal cards, then we're going to move on to our next media panel question, and that's from Tim Rempel.
You bet. Seeing as all the questions have been sorted at this end, I'll move down to the other end a little ways. So this one's for Peter Days. We've been sort of continuing on with the wants and needs that we've been talking about. There's a lot of different wants, or depending on your on who you are, it might be a need for certain things in the city, whether that's a recreation center, whether that's a performing arts space, and other things like that. How would you prioritize what happens?
Well, thank you for the question. One thing that I would like to do is, if elected to council, I would seek out people who could provide me with some input, so I'm not operating in a silo in City Hall. I think it happens too often. And I think that, for example, when it comes to wants and needs, we'd have to keep in mind what the CFIB report came out last September that was part of the election campaign then, it indicated that capital spending is outpacing the growth of most municipalities. And I think especially in this fiscal, in the economy that we're living in, where you're hearing about the fiscal cliff, and we just went through the Euro debt crisis, that we just need to be fiscally prudent. And so I think it's just a matter of seeking out people like the Chamber, people, just different organizations in the city, and get their perspective before I would make a decision.
Thank you, Peter. And Pat Berthelot.
This is something that I've been speaking out quite a bit about, the want or need. And when you talk about prioritizing, I don't think it's anything magic. I think when you take the amount of people that actually use a facility, and you take the amount of millions, if not billions of dollars spent to accommodate this small group, that's a simple recipe for figuring out whether we want it, whether we need it, or whether we should build it. When you look at the Performing Arts Centre request that came a week before CASA opened its doors, people are looking at this leisure center pretty closely lately, and we're talking probably tens and tens of thousands of people and family that will use that facility, that outnumbers the amount of people using the arts facility by tenfold. So I don't think there's anything magic in that. I just think it's a matter of sitting down and telling the people that are demanding build us this, you just got to say, listen, there's just not enough of you using it, so we can't build it. I think that's very simple to figure out. Thank you.
Thank you. I've seen two other rebuttal cards played. First, Bridget Mearns, and then we'll go to Rena Wass.
I think this is a great question, and it's one of the biggest struggles to be on council, is to figure out, so we get a lot of, the majority of the funding we have for capital builds comes from provincial and federal grants. But to operate them obviously comes from property tax, so we have to be mindful of that when we think about prioritizing. But when we're talking about these kinds of structures, we're talking about quality of life issues, really is what it boils down to. I'm proud to say that we did change, as the Open and Effective Government Committee, we did change how the process was handled. In the past, the capital projects were decided and then brought to the public, and the public were asked, how do we do? We completely changed it so that all of the projects were made public. The public had the opportunity to bring in input and tell us what they thought were the important projects. And then we took that back, and then we deliberated to see what could we afford, what was the priority, whether it was an economic priority or a social priority, or where it stacked up into what the community needed. So that's the type of thing that I'd like to see continue, is to have that kind of community input. It can't be the final say, but it certainly is an important piece of the puzzle.
Thank you, Bridget. Rena?
When it comes to needs versus wants, it seems that wants has been taking over the picture, and it's got us into a lot of financial difficulty. On the one side of the ledger, everything looks rosy, but on the other side, most people don't realize it, but we're close to $1 billion in debt. I've been talking to a lot of young families and seniors that are on a fixed income. If you're a young family starting out, you've got a mortgage payment, you've got truck payments, you want to get your kids the new skates, the little ballet outfit, whatever. How do you meet a budget when taxes keep going up? That's a variable. You want certain things to be reliable, and our taxes are not reliable because spending is out of control. In September, the Canadian Federation of Independent Business reported in the Herald that during the past decade, the City of Lethbridge operational spending increased by 70%, while the population rose by 28%. In Medicine Hat, they cut operational spending by 18%. The town of Noblefort, their taxes have been going down. Ours keep going up. Bureaucracy has doubled in 8 years. That means we keep hiring more and more managers.
Thank you, Rena. Peter Day's figured out that there's extra marks for mentioning the Chamber of Commerce in the response. So, that'll bring us back to our media panel for Verl Todd.
Okay, Bridget, something just dropped here that I thought would be kind of fitting for you. You were on council, you want to go back on council, and we have heard the suggestion that spending's out of control, and we have more and more managers, and we're hiring more and more people. Would be that your view?
It's certainly one that's a perception in the community, and one of the first things I did when I was elected to council in 2010 was put forward a resolution to look at hiring at the city council and what was necessary in the budget and what wasn't. It ended up cutting 5 positions, but it's something that needs to be looked at for sure. Sorry, what was the second part of your question?
No, basically that's it. Do you believe spending's out of control?
Well, having been part of the council that reduced taxes to the lowest level in 10 years, I think there's some room for improvement, obviously. There's a benchmarking initiative that the City of Lethbridge is involved in that looks at efficiencies, and it's efficiencies in municipalities around the province. I'm proud of that initiative, and I'd like to see that move forward, because the services that our citizens demand and require and deserve, the cost to deliver those services increase. So you either have to reduce the level of service, or you have to increase taxes, or you have to find efficiencies. So this benchmark initiative takes a look at delivering a service in Red Deer, delivering it in Lethbridge. If Red Deer can do it cheaper, why? So this is a really great initiative that Lethbridge is a part of, and something that I continue to push forward.
Thanks. Sorry for the premature ding.
I wasn't, yeah.
That was 30 seconds. Any rebuttal cards for that? If not, that is going to bring us to an audience question at this point. I don't see anybody at the mics. If you want to ask a verbal question from the mic, please do come forward, and there are seats available. I will note when you come forward, and I will get to you. You don't have to stand there while you're waiting. But I do see one gentleman down at the front. Please, your question.
I'd like to, I guess, ask Bridget, how did I miss the referendum on CASA? You said there was 100% citizen participation. To me, that's a vote. When was the vote called, and what was the results of that vote?
One, the CASA project was approved 2 councils ago. But no, I didn't say there was a referendum. What I said was there was input into the process.
Yeah, but input by who?
By the community. So
What? Who in the community?
the people who were engaged and participated.
In other words, the people that wanted it.
Sir,
Well, the people who didn't could also equally have shown up.
part of the discussion that I had earlier about proper decorum at a function like this will include asking your question and then ceasing. This isn't a debate from the mic with the person that you're asking the question for. You ask the question, you sit down. We will cut mics if we have to. Thank you for your response, Bridget. That would take us to, I believe, a written question if we don't have any rebuttal cards for that. We don't. I'm going to go to a question that was submitted over Twitter for the first time, I think, in our history, actually. So the question is addressed to Chris Rowley, and the question is, what is your position on a living wage, and should the city endorse such a policy?
A living wage? I would say no, because as a city councillor, I think that we should do it for the passion of being in there and not for the money.
All right, thank you. Any other candidates want to chime in on a living wage? If not, I think that leads us back to our media panel. Dory, do you have another question?
Sure. I admit I've been creeping some of you on Facebook and Twitter, for those of you who are so engaged. Peter, I noticed that you've been out quite a bit, and on your Facebook site you've mentioned that a lot of residents are not happy with Council's recent decision to keep the provincial education tax surplus. Do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Yes, thank you, Dory. I did post that yesterday. If anyone wants to see it, it is on my website, votedays.com. I understand from a business point of view how council was looking at it. I mean, you can take those dollars and leverage them against provincial and the federal funding for capital. But what I'm hearing from residents is the question, whose money is it? It's the principle of the thing, where it's like going for lunch with someone. You and I go for lunch, and you offer to pay. The waitress comes back, and so they overcharged you for a coffee. Here's $1.50, and I would reach out my hand, not that I would actually do that, and take it from you. And it comes down to whose money is it, and that's what I'm hearing from the residents. And when I see and hear Joe Morrow, Ryan Parker, and Jeffrey Kaufman all say that they have concerns with how council conducted that raises concerns for me as well. So I know residents are very, very upset about it. And once again, the question is, whose money is it?
Thank you. Bridget looks like she wants to play her final rebuttal card unless she has some money in her pocket for another.
We'll talk in a bit. Yeah, this is something that came forward that I do want to weigh in on because it is an important issue, and I side on the side of Joe Morrow and Ryan Parker on this one. So the city collects money for the province for an education tax. They over-collected. So it's probably not realistic to actually give you that back. It would take more money to give it to you. So how you should have received it back, because it's yours to get back, not to be pooled for capital. We should do that in a systematic way, but it's yours to get back. So we should put it towards tax relief for that year, the following year. So you pay too much, you pay less the following year. That's exactly what I would have suggested should have happened, and would have probably voted that way.
Thank you, Bridget. No other rebuttals? Then I think we have someone at the mic to my right. Sir, your question.
Thank you very much. My name is Ken Eichel. We're talking about the debt and no citizen debt, but we're paying $22 million in debt payments. But what I want to know about is in Calgary, they shut down their luxury downtown toilets. And in Seattle, they shut them down because they were too expensive and they were costing too much money environmentally. Lethbridge, they have one downtown toilet. Years ago, we had downtown toilets and they destroyed them. So it's already been approved, and the capital projects are something like $0.3 some $100,000. Would you endorse, and I direct the question to Peter Days, would you endorse canceling out that project based on the facts from Portland, Seattle, and Calgary on their luxury toilets?
Well, thank you for the question, Mr. Eichel. I'm not familiar with those projects, but if you're talking about luxury toilets, I'm not sure why we would need those in Lethbridge. I think obviously we would need some relief, if you will, for the downtown area, especially in the evening. So, I mean, I haven't seen the specific project that you're looking at or referring to, but I mean, it sounds like something we need to look at. But luxury, I would say I wouldn't be able to support
Well,
that.
you should have a look at the capital projects that they endorsed.
All right. I would welcome the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone want to weigh in on that, perhaps with a good pun as well?
Yeah, Mr. Eichel, I grew up in Lethbridge. You're talking Gull Gardens, the old comfort station, I think it was called in those days, if you're old enough to remember that. And eventually they became very disgusting, basically because they weren't maintained. There was nobody there to supervise them. It became a place where, there was drugs and drinking and all sorts of things. I look at Gull Gardens now, compare what it has been in the past. I think the city with the water park and thing has done a great job trying, again, to bring people downtown and make that an enjoyable place, especially for families with young kids and that type of thing. Does there have to be some kind of restroom facilities there in the new buildings? Of course, but again, they have to be maintained. There has to be some quality control there, so again, they aren't abused, with graffiti, drugs, alcohol, those types of things. Because I think most people would actually, appreciate that type of thing, especially when you're down there with a young family.
All right, thank you. I see somebody at the mic. Sir, I'm just going to ask you to have a seat. I will get to you for the next verbal question from the mic. I'm going to go to a written question that was submitted. This was submitted, I believe, by email previously. The question is for Bridget Mearns. What is the city's responsibility for ensuring adequate water resources for future economic development? And would you support the city getting more involved in promoting good water management practices in the region, including incentives?
Absolutely. I think the water is the new gold. We have to be extremely careful of what we do it, how we treat it. It's a resource that we have to be very aware of. So the City of Lethbridge is part of the Old Man Water District, I believe, or Council. We do have membership on that as well. So working in partnership with our regional partners, and as well as those environmental groups and the people who are experts in water and working with the province, we have to keep a keen eye on this. I'm not sure what they mean by incentives. What we did do, at least from a perspective of water usage in the city of Lethbridge, is we changed the way that water was charged. In the past, you weren't charged for usage. You were charged an administrative fee that was quite high, and then everyone was charged. What we did was change that fee structure, so you were charged by actual how much you used. The reason we did that was to make people more aware of their water consumption, and we did see a difference. So the municipality and the council has already made small steps in making our citizens more aware of water usage and the importance of it in their day-to-day lives.
Thank you, Bridget. Any rebuttal cards for that? Water management? No? If not, I believe that leads us back to our media panel, and I believe Nick Kuo is up from Lethbridge Herald. Nick.
Hey, question for Kevin. Engaging citizens, for better or worse, not everyone takes an active interest in local politics. We've seen that in lower and lower voter turnout numbers over the years. What would you like to see done, and what would you do, I guess, to generate more public involvement?
Thank you for the question. Every citizen does have an opinion. It's just a matter of making a personal decision if that opinion matters to them. Some people go about their day, and it's just going about their day after day after day without really caring what happens. They just do the same thing. And other people look around and they say, well, I can get involved in the community doing this or doing that. And other people get more involved and want to help out their city in different ways, including becoming politically active. You know, it's just, I don't know. Those that don't want to vote for whatever reason, I encourage them to get more active and get out and vote and make their voice heard. It is important.
Thank you, Mr. Layton. Any rebuttal cards for that? Public participation? If not, that will lead us back to an audience question. And the gentleman that was at the mic a moment ago, I'll ask him to come back up.
My name is Carl Whitowich. I would like to direct this to Pat. What would your opinion be in assisting the arts make the use of the 1% money on all construction projects in the operation of CASA instead of taxpayer footing the bill and going again, instead of the so-called art like that in front of City Hall, Fire Hall?
That's a good question, and I'm sure it would take me more than my 30 seconds to answer it, but that's an awful lot of money they collect on that 1% tax. And I got documents in front of me that show where it's going, and I don't see where it's going to operate CASA. There's no doubt about that. And if I were on council, I'd make sure that that 1% tax on the arts was exploited and people knew exactly how much it was and where it's going. And definitely redirect it to pay for what we got. Absolutely, that's a good question.
Pat, you have a minute instead of 30 seconds.
Okay.
If you wanted to add to that.
Last year, CASA cost us $3.3 million to operate. That came out of the operating budget for the city. I don't have any documentation that shows where it came out of any arts acquisition money from the 1%. And the thing is, the 1% tax acquisition that you're talking about, nobody in the city knows they're doing that. And that's an awful lot of money. That's more money than you can imagine. And if you knew the figures, I can dig them out here. I don't have enough time, but it would literally make you sick the amount of money the arts collect from that 1% tax. So definitely there's enough money collected in the arts tax to cover the art stuff. Why it isn't doing it? Because nobody's pushing for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat Berthelot. Just a reminder to the candidates, the only people that are limited to 30 seconds is the people asking the questions. So your responses, including your rebuttal responses, are 1 minute in length. That would lead us to a written question. This is a question that has, again, come in over Twitter. It is addressed to Martin Heavyhead. Martin, what should YQL, that's Lethbridge in Twitter speak, what should Lethbridge be known for? What's your vision for a brand?
You know, I was thinking about tourism, and I have traveled a lot. I'm 28, but I've traveled a lot, and part of Lethbridge that I missed absolutely the most was the actual physical beauty of the place. That we have our coulees and our river bottoms here, but at the same time, we have one of the cleanest cities, not only in Western Canada, in Canada in general. That throughout North America, I've seen a lot of garbage. I've seen a lot of, there's a sort of a level of beautification that Lethbridge has that is missing. And so I think Lethbridge can be, along with that, something known in the West for its inclusiveness, for what we can lead as. And, you know, we take solar and wind panels, we could be adding energy into the grid, a sustainable city.
Thank you, Martin. And thank you for pointing out that the wind blows a lot of the garbage to the east. All right, that would lead us back to our media panel. Terry Fikowski with Global.
Okay, my question is directed at Rena Waz. You mentioned in your opening statements that there was a small victory when Golden Key Oil. Can you not hear me? Sorry. You mentioned there was a small victory when Golden Key Oil withdrew its application to drill within Lethbridge city limits, but there's still more to do. City Council has been quite vocal in its opposition, along with a lot of local groups. What more do you think can be done to address the issue of urban drilling in the future?
Well, Golden Key has decided not to pursue this, but it doesn't mean another company isn't going to step forward and do the same thing. So the issue really is with our government. Our local government has taken a very strong stance on this, and many of us in our community, most of us have as well. What we need to do now is really step it up and get to our provincial politicians. Greg Wiedek is supposed to be fighting for us, as is Bridget Pasteur. I think they need to do more. Too many of them are saying, well, it's up to the AER, the Alberta Energy Regulator. Well, you know what? It's the government that has installed that energy regulator. They can, whatever legislation is in place now, we need to relook at it so that it works for us. The well-being of our community is what matters. And having oil and gas drilling, fracking, flaring, poisoning millions of gallons of water, for what? To create energy in a drought zone? This is absolutely unacceptable.
Any rebuttal cards for that? No. Then we will move on to an audience question. I see this gentleman standing at the mic. Please.
I find on the news media that a lot of politicians make outlandish statements, and we all have a tendency to believe them. So, for example, Stephen Harper, or one of the Conservatives the other day, said that the vast majority of Canadians support minimum sentences. And yet, I don't recall ever seeing any support for that statement. Like, what is the vast majority? My question is to Rena Waz. You said the city is almost $1 billion in debt. Could you tell me the exact amount? Because I'm shocked to hear that we would be $1 billion in debt.
Actually, we have commitments of, I've got it right here in front of me, 8,038,900, well, it's just under $900 million of total projects going forward to 2023. Those are the facts.
Can I just say that that's not an indebtedness. That's a projection to 2023. So our actual indebtedness today is not almost $1 billion. What exactly, maybe Bridget can answer, what exactly is the indebtedness of the city of Lethbridge?
We're still going to follow our rules, including one question per interrogator. And the number of rebuttal cards that you have is the number that you have. If people want to trade rebuttal cards, I won't stop you. But I saw, who did I see waving a rebuttal card? Was that Pat Berthelot? Pat, please.
Yes, Rena was talking about the money committed for capital improvement projects over the next 10 years, which, yeah, it's close to $1 billion. The total debt that the city owns today, total external debt as of today, is $149,574,000. That's external debt. The total internal debt we owe today is $17.5 million. So when you hear a lot about do you support tax-supported debt, a lot of people are under the impression that we don't have any tax-supported debt, but we indeed do. And it's going to keep climbing, and they're predicting in the next 5 or 6 years that it's going to go up to $200 million. So, yeah, we got debt. Don't let anybody fool you. No, it's not $1 billion, but we're committed to $1 billion in capital improvement projects that we got to find money to pay for. That's right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. That would lead us to a written question. This is a genuine written question by Penn. City Council recently voted 5 for and 2 against for a $5 per month residential tax increase that will amount to $2.2 million as a trust fund with no specific projects. The question is, how would you vote? And that question will be directed to Joey Shackelford.
Well, that scares me, if that is true, that this, city council votes on something like that without letting taxpayers truly know where that money's going. It's going into a fund for the future. Again, as most of the candidates up here have said this evening, that it is your money, and this council, that is the present council we have right now, many of them campaigned on transparency and open government and stuff like that. So when they start to, have statements like that, that it's going into a fund that we need somewhere down the line, you wonder why citizens are upset and taxpayers are upset. I would be very upset as well. Be open, be honest with people. They may not agree with you, but at least they know where you stand, and that's all you can ask for taxpayers.
Thank you. Peter Days is with his rebuttal card.
Actually, I've been attending council meetings since February, and I was surprised when someone advised me that this had taken place, because I hadn't seen it at council. I think the record should show, and if you are interested, go to Lethbridge Accountability. When the candidates were asked what their priorities were, those who included or mentioned low residential rates were Blaine Higgin, Joe Morrow, Ryan Parker, and myself. And so I think that's part of what I campaign on, is lower or fiscal conservative, being fiscally conservative, and I certainly would have concerns. I would have voted against that tax hike.
Thank you, Peter. That would lead us back to our media panel, and Tim Rempel with Lethbridge Living is next.
This question is for Pat Berthelot. If you're successfully elected to council, that you're one vote on council, how do you feel you work with other people?
Well, I don't work with my enemies very well, I can tell you that, but I know there's at least 4, maybe 5 people on council I have a lot of respect for. I think they've got the right frame of mind. I think they got the interests of the people, and I know I can work with them. I know I'm coming across a little tough now because I'm trying to draw attention to the seriousness of what's going on at City Hall. I don't think I'll have a problem, but one thing is there's a lot of people seem to be threatened with what I think needs to be changed in City Hall, but people keep forgetting that I got to convince 4 other members. I'm very convincing, and if I think that what I'm saying is right and I dig out the facts and details, I don't see how anybody else can not agree with me, quite frankly. Thank you.
I'm a lawyer. I've used that type of argument in court before. Surprisingly effective. That will take us back, unless there's rebuttal cards for that. If not, then that will take us back to audience questions. I believe the young lady at the right-hand mic has a question.
Thank you. The question I have is for Peter Days. I was at a breakfast business club meeting recently where the city inclusion consultant, a man whose opinion I respect very greatly, told us that some places throughout the country, Lethbridge is referred to as the Mississippi of the North. And this is not a complimentary, and please don't shoot the messenger here, but it spoke to the fact that we have a long way to go towards creating an inclusive community. And I think there's a lot of good work being done, but there are places in this community where the inclusion is not there, the social issues are not really being addressed, and even within City Hall there are places where intimidation is stronger than an openness to change. So as someone who spoke to wanting to create change, I'd like to know your perspective on how you might do that.
Thanks, Kimberly. I certainly support CMART and the work that it does on city council, or with the city, I mean. I mean, it's a pretty broad topic, and I think, I mean, the reality is we are a large Anglo-Saxon community, and I think that, you know, that is changing as we get more and more refugees and immigrants coming to this city. I know there's challenges as far as the Native community. I mean, that's ongoing as well. So, you know, change would be great. Do I have anything specific? I won't pretend to, you know, to have any specific answers that will solve all those problems, but certainly it would be a priority as far as correcting that perspective that we would have. That would be a concern of mine.
All right, Yves Gauthier waved his rebuttal card first.
I would like seriously to promote changes, and what's been going on in Lethbridge has been set down by those managers that have been sitting down on those chairs forever, or seems like forever. So my idea would be to actually, like, instead of, or just like a hockey team, you don't fire the team. You just go on top, and it goes on its way down. I personally would like to see a lot more discipline out of our managers and a lot more self-control. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yves. Just on the note of hockey, Boston, Montreal are going into overtime, tied 0-0. Just thought you should all know. Joey Shackelford waved his card second.
To be honest with you, I'm a little offended by the question. The last 5 years of my teaching career, I think Lethbridge School District 51 has seen the biggest influx of foreign students into both the public and separate school systems. Children from Afghanistan, a lot of places like that. And I used to ask them once their English improved, you know, why choose Lethbridge? You know, they're all the way coming from Afghanistan. And their parents have told them that this city is one of the most accommodating and understanding and welcoming cities in Western Canada. And I take a lot of pride in that, and I think everybody in this room should take a lot of pride in that and not paint us all with the same broad strokes.
Thank you, Joey. Chris waved his card as well.
So I would like to see happen is these diverse groups that we talk about, because they can't vote, I'd like to see city council actually invite them to come and present on what issues, being a diverse group within Lethbridge, what they struggle with, and have the city actually invite them.
Thank you, Chris Rowley. That was a microphone question, so that'll take us to a written. Oh, I'm sorry, Kevin Layton, please.
I didn't think I was that, sure. For years, the word here was NIMBY, not in my backyard. I don't want them anywhere near me. This last October, the word was inclusion. I look around, and inclusion does still have a long way to go. But if we work together as a city, if we work together as a community, if we work together as a family, we can do it. But we have to do it together. City council can do their part. The city can do their part. We have to work together. Thank you.
All right, that takes us to a written question. I will point out that we're entering into our last 10 minutes of our question period. The rebuttal cards aren't worth anything after the question period, so make sure you use them if you still have them. This written question is directed to Yves Gauthier. The question is, what should or can the city be doing to stimulate economic growth and help retain local college or university graduates?
We need jobs. We just need to promote and help companies actually flourish in Lethbridge. If we can have a few innovative companies, and everybody's got a good imagination. I've got a pretty good one, as you've seen upstairs. We could come out with a lot of little gadget inventions. Everybody's got a good idea of something somewhere that can be done to actually make it better. If we have little balls in Lethbridge, we can actually get a few good companies, good manufacturing companies actually employing a lot of, or many people with nice paying jobs. That would be my side of it, and hoping to get a better airport, bigger airport, and actually call it international. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Yves Gauthier. Rena, are you waving your card?
Yeah, I am.
Please go ahead.
Thanks. Lethbridge has an abundance of resources, sun and wind. We've also got tremendous soil. I'm worried about urban sprawl, but that's another thing. With that soil, we've become known for agriculture. Well, you know what? Sun and wind is a resource. It's like gold, and it's right in our face. And what have we done with it? Nothing. We could be known as a center of research. We've got the research station, we've got the university, their symbol is even the sun. What if we had a department of renewables at the university? They could be putting their minds together, coming up with ways to store that energy, because you know what? Whoever's going to invent storage is going to become hugely wealthy. We could keep our people here in Lethbridge if we employ them in green jobs. Let's attract manufacturing. Let's open up the doors to training, be known for training, apprenticeship training. That would diversify and stabilize our economy and open the doors for a more solid future. That's my vision. Hope it's yours.
Thank you, Rena. Any other rebuttal cards for that question? If not, after our written question, we go back to our media panel. That gets us down to the end of Rural Todd, CJOC. Please.
Okay, time's almost up here, so I guess which one's the most interesting? I think that I have to ask Martin Heavyhead, because our council has a responsibility to a lot of people, and that includes our First Nations neighbors. And the subject's not often discussed openly. We talk about it around and around. Is there any way that our inclusion can be improved from a city perspective for the First Nations people who live here?
I had a nice speech at the Forum for SACPA, and afterwards I had showed one of my friends who is a former street person, and with a lot of motivation, he's now a year sober and living a good life and working with people in trying to aid others. And something he had told me was, you know, with this nice speech, they'll clap for you in public. They'll do all the right things, say all the nice things, but their attitudes will stay the same. The feeling will stay the same. And I felt that to be a very sort of apathetic view. But something that he brought up was that right now Lethbridge does more for the homeless population than our own tribe does. So the Blood Tribe is just on the other side of the river. It's one of the largest reserves in Canada, and developing a relationship, a close relationship with Blood Tribe, with Bigani, developing a close relationship on a municipal level is probably one of the first steps. Thank you.
Seeing no rebuttal cards, I'll just remark that a minute goes by pretty quick, doesn't it? All right, that brings us to our question from the floor. I see a gentleman at the mic on the left-hand side. Please.
Thank you. I was going to ask a question about a police station on the west side, but I have a question for Rena Wass. It was just announced in the newspaper that Kyoto Fuels is under court protection, where they're going to manufacture so many green jobs in Lethbridge. And subsidized by the government for a tune of $1 million. The project environmentally didn't work. And right now in the world, they're forecasting so-called costs, environmental costs of $1 trillion for green projects. Could you answer that and how many jobs that would supposedly create?
Well, thanks for your question, Ken. I don't have enough information about that, so I can't really comment on there. But what I will say is this. Look at how many billions we have put into the fossil fuel industry to get them off the ground. And now, clearly, the fossil fuel industry is killing our planet. 2013, in September, the United Nations came out with the first of 3 reports. Thousands of scientists and advisors went into making that report, and all of them say that the greatest threat facing the human race is climate change. And what is it linked to? The fossil fuel industry. Now, clearly, they know, and so does the insurance companies know, that climate change is real, and we have to, at all levels of government, address it. We have an opportunity in Lethbridge to do that. Very few places have the abundance of sun and the abundance of wind that we have. Let's take action on that.
Climate change is spring.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any rebuttal cards for that? Seeing no rebuttal cards, that will take us to a written question. This question is addressed to Bridget Mearns. Do you feel more people should live downtown? And if yes, how would you address safety, parking, and downtown development?
Thank you. That was actually one of the questions on our that we filled out, and we all filled out those questions. So it was a chamber question. I think you have to have people living downtown to have a vibrant downtown. We have to, as a municipality, make sure that we get out of the way. If there's any place that we are in the way, to ensure that there's mixed development as well as people living downtown. That's vital to bring life to where it is. Sorry, and what was the parking and security. Security obviously is handled by the Lethbridge Police Services, and that's where it belongs. And parking is an issue it's actually being examined right now by the BRZ in the heart of the city. There's a subcommittee that's been formed to look at that. That's absolutely a problem that needs to be addressed in a short-term and long-term way. There are people who are on it, businesses that live down or that work and operate downtown. Those are the ones to best tell us the needs of parking as well as our citizens. So I'd be interested to see what that subcommittee comes up with. It's definitely something that needs to be looked at, and our vibrancy in downtown equals a vibrant city. So I encourage all of it.
Thank you, Bridget. We were trying to make sure that your answer would be the same as on the written response. Not bad, yeah. Peter Days.
I'm of the philosophy, if you build it, they will come, and if more people you get downtown, I think you'll have less of a problem with loitering and that. One thing I'm hearing as I go to the seniors' lodges is really the need in the downtown area for a grocery store, especially for the people who are living in the Green Acres Foundation lodges, and I think that's where, if you could to work with the downtown BRZ to create more people coming downtown, and also a condo complex. I think those are things that the BRZ and the city needs to be looking at.
All right, thank you. We have time for probably one more question, so now's the time to use your rebuttal cards if you like. And I think that takes us back to the media panel. Dory, did you have one more question to finish us off?
Sure, I'll go back to Martin. First Nations community is obviously huge around here. Do you have any views on what the city could be doing to facilitate economic advantages for the First Nations community?
Part of that comes down to, as Blackfoot people, we work to be good at everything that we do. There's limited exposure there's maybe about a couple dozen hardcore street people down there, and many who have been for 20, 30 years. There's 14,000 other people on the other side of the river, and we're not exposed to the doctors, the lawyers, the professionals, the artists, the people who have gone, the farmers, and made their lives and eked out a living. What we're mostly exposed to in Lethbridge are the street people. Though I'm not saying that there aren't social problems with the reserve. What we do as Blackfoot people is to try to be as good as we can at everything that we do. And a value of sort of Western society is to become a professional and become specialized. So I don't, in a way, that's sort of a culture clash. I don't think there's anything that we can do specifically for economic advantages, but we could sure try. Sorry.
Thank you, Martin. I see Marco at the end waving his card.
Yeah, just for support Martin on that way too. And the first thing what we need to do, I think, Lethbridge need to understand first of all the history of Native people. The city council also need to invite these people and say, tell you, maybe someone knows the stories, but maybe not. And what do you like? What do you taste? And try to be involved and to make a program together and make a worker together. But I think the issue is because we don't know. We don't probably know the story, probably know these people. So if I'm like, I would invite that guys to tell more about that.
Thank you, Marco Bergeron. Any other rebuttal cards? Because that was it. That's the last question. Thank you. I see a person at the mic, but we are closed down for questions now. I apologize.
Well, I was just going to tell a joke anyhow, don't matter.
All right. That leads us to our concluding portion of the evening. So we're going to have closing remarks from each candidate. Again, we're going to be doing 2 minutes per candidate. We're going to be having the candidates give their concluding remarks in reverse order of the introductory speeches, so reverse alphabetical order, and that will have us commencing with Rena Wass, right to my immediate right. Rena.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks everyone for coming out. I'm known for environment, but you know, I'm also very concerned about downtown. It's the heart of our city. That's where I was born, and it used to be an alive place. I'd like to see it revitalized in a real way. Now, we had a golden opportunity, the last council. What do? They say they care about downtown revitalization, and then they sell the most prime piece of property that we had. Across from Nakagamas, we had an entire city block. We could have had an indoor farmers market, year-round farmers market. That's about community building, getting people downtown. We could be known for arts and culture. Get a theme going. If you're going to plan something, it's got to have a solid plan. A theme, arts and culture, multicultural. Have a Polish deli, a German this, a Greek bakery. Music, get the kids downtown. Condo out some of those old buildings. And that way we've got presence downtown, and it makes it safer. Food trucks. Like, why are we so, I want to change all that. I want to have our transit affordable and in some cases waive the cost or not even charge people, because those $600,000 buses are running half empty. That's wrong. We've paid for them, and the well-being of our community is the thing that matters. So I really hope to get your vote. I'm a strong voice for seniors. I am a senior, young senior. And I'm a new voice, and I have a new vision. So check out my website, please, www.renawass.com, and it'll outline my entire platform. And I welcome any phone calls before Monday. So thank you.
Thank you, Rena. Joey Shackelford, please.
All the candidates here before you running for city council are good people who want nothing but the best for this city. You certainly can't be a one-issue candidate, as the city is way more complex than that. We all know that. You have to be a bit of a jack of all trades, as my dad used to say, and know the issues, understand the time commitment is more than just going to council meetings. It's, you know, getting out in the community and walking the walk. You know, volunteering, go to the animal shelter, go down to the water treatment plant, you know, and thank the people for the great job that they do down there. And not just, you know, sit up in City Hall and up on the perch there and think you're doing a great job. It's doing what, to me, it's doing what's right when nobody's looking. As in most things in life, it's the little things that count. It's leading by example. It's doing your homework on issues and not disappearing after you get elected. The expectation is getting more from your city councillor, not less. And that's what I will give you if I am elected to city council. So on May the 12th, please take the time to get out and vote, and I would certainly appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Joey Shackelford. That leads us to Chris Rowley.
I'd just like to cover some of the stuff about the natives and even other issues. I think City Council needs to really reach out to some of those people that have the issues, because the way a lot of people feel is it's very hard to come in front of City Council and really let them know what the issues are. But if the City Council comes to them and say, we need to know what the issues are because we don't fully understand it, I think that would go a long way to feel like the minorities in Lethbridge are heard, because I have a disability, and it's like it's very hard to approach City Council on some of those issues that I have and stuff as a group of people, not just me, but as a group. And so I would just like to see them come and ask those minorities.
Thank you, Chris Rowley. Bridget Mearns.
Thank you. Tonight we heard about increased tax rates, spending. We heard about community input and engagement. We heard about environmental initiatives. And we heard about quality of life. All of these things are principles I've been committed to over the last 3 years and remain committed to. I'd like to give you something else to think about as well. Elections are a great time to bring fresh and new people into the mix. It's an opportunity to vote in the experience of incumbents as well as the fresh ideas of new councillors. By-elections are different. This council is already 7 months into its term. The new councillors are just starting to understand the municipal government works. They have strategic priorities established. Most importantly, they're going into operating budget deliberations. The operating budget is the most important document that a council will approve. It impacts the services you receive and your property tax for the next 4 years. By-elections are not the time to shake things up. This council needs a member who can seamlessly transition and get to work on day one. They need a councillor who has an intimate knowledge on the key issues and can hit the ground running. I'm the only candidate who can do that. You have an opportunity to put a hard-working, community-minded, experienced, but more importantly, effective councillor back on council. I hope you'll do that, and I'll hope you will put me back to work for you. And on May 12th, I hope to be elected, and I hope you'll help me do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bridget Mearns. Kevin Layton, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, how many on city council right now travel on city transit, go out every day and talk to the community, go to the malls, go to the businesses, go to the social clubs, talk to the community, take the time to find out what matters in the city? None. They have jobs during the day until it's time for city council time. Then they take city council hours to do what they need to do. Then it's back to their other job. This will be my job, working for you. No other career, no other work, working for you. If I am honored enough to get this job, I live on H. I say what I mean what I say from the front. I hide nothing. I will lose my pension. I live in Lethbridge housing. There is a very good chance that I will lose my house. My wife and I, and my service dog, could very well lose our house. We are already 3/4 of our house packed. That is a sacrifice that we are willing to make for the city of Lethbridge. That is how much we love Lethbridge. That is how much we care for you. Please let me work for you.
Thank you, Kevin Layton. Martin Heavyhead.
I'd actually like to acknowledge our former mayor and the work that he had done in bringing inclusion into Lethbridge. During his time as mayor, I'd actually seen more Native people employed in Lethbridge than ever before. And that, from his leadership, was actually part of what got me interested in municipal politics, in politics in general, when I saw glimmers of hope in what I felt society was at the time. And I would like to acknowledge the question earlier that Lethbridge has the reputation of being the Mississippi of Canada, not North America, sorry. North America then would have 2 Mississippis. That is not what I would like Lethbridge to be known for. And amongst the Native population and amongst many minorities, yeah, we know that pretty well. And though I've never really experienced overt racism directly to me, it might be because I'm almost 7 feet tall and dress in black. But I know when I walk away that the words go. So I would rather see Lethbridge as a community-focused place, because there's more than just the municipality. There is Southern Alberta around us. And we have people coming in here through our university from all over the world. And to be a model for this world is something that we can do and something that we choose to do. And in the best of hopes, I'd like to continue working towards that every day. Thank you.
If you want to take another minute or so, go ahead.
Somehow the bell disappeared for some reason. See if we can find that. Thank you, Martin Heavyhead. That takes us to Yves Gauthier.
Yes. What I would like to see Lethbridge come out in the next few years is actually to stand out throughout Canada as being progressive and not being just a little sheep follower. Like right now, we're trying to imitate other big cities and what they're doing, how they're doing it. Things crazy, just like we've got that big bridge sticking out of nowhere, made out of sticks. I would like to, instead of punishing base jumpers coming out and just jumping off of it, give them a trophy, give them a business license, and tell them to, hey, we got a school that teaches base jumping in Lethbridge. Do you know how many people would come out of nowhere, out of holes? Maybe not bungee, because we got too many sticks in the way, I think, for that bridge. In order to do something like that, to think outside the box and come out with something that will make us stand out, and I have very good ideas. I mean, I'm just being crazy. It's half my name. I'm just seriously tired of the poor excuses from our management. Things don't break by mystery. We don't get dirty water by somebody is watching the gauges and checking their things out, right? Somebody's sleeping at the wheel on that one. Yeah, so if you want to check good ideas or the kind of crazy ones I've got, check my website, krazy-sculptor.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Yves. That takes us to Peter Days.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the media panel for coming here tonight, and thank you once again for your participation in this important by-election. Just wrap up a few loose ends regarding myself. I do support a ward system in 2017. I'm currently a member of the Lethbridge Regional Police Commission, and I'm a volunteer for the Alberta 55+ Winter Games. As a door knock, one thing I keep hearing is a question, who is running the city? I have some ideas on how council can take more control of the situation as opposed to relying on administration. I'd be happy to share those with you. As you heard earlier, I have been asking the question or saying the statement, it's your money. I think we should be finding ways to save your tax dollars as opposed to finding ways to spend it. It was mentioned earlier that this isn't the time to shake things up. The term earlier that had been used was, this isn't time to rock the boat. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't a boat. We're talking about an ocean liner that we're all on a 4-year journey. This is an opportunity to set direction for the city for the next 4 years. I'm working hard to earn the privilege of serving on council. Your vote is vital if you want a new and fresh perspective on council. And if you feel the same way, I would ask and encourage you to ask your friends and family to become informed and vote May 12th or in Saturday's advance poll. Thank you very much for coming out this evening.
Thank you, Peter. That takes us to Pat Berthelot.
Hey, thank you all for coming out. Really appreciate that. I'm going to throw numbers around at you because numbers is what seems to be the big issue because it affects our taxes. 2014 budget to operate the city of Lethbridge is $400 million. Yep, $400 million. Wages and benefits are $140 million alone out of that. That's nothing to do with debt repayment or paying for CIP projects or any kind of special group interests. Out of this here, funding for arts acquisition, that's to place art around downtown. As you can see, we have 3 art sculptures downtown with a cost of over $500,000. We're going to spend $800,000 in the next year on art acquisition for downtown Lethbridge, and this is what's really getting people up in arms. CASA was supposed to replace the Bowman Arts Centre, but yet between now and the end of next year, we're going to spend $2 million re-renovating the Bowman Arts Centre that was supposed to be decommissioned and, and put out of service. The Galt Museum preservation, which is a good cause, but it's still $1 million out of our pockets in the next year on top of all the expenses to run the city. 3rd Avenue reconstruction and streetscaping around Casa and Galt Gardens between now and the end of next year is $8 million. That's on top of the cost of running the city. Exhibition park upgrades, which apparently are going to be torn down once the convention center is going to be built, are $3.15 million. That's incredible. They talked about downtown parking, but nobody seemed to want to mention this. But between now and next year, we're going to spend $15 million to build a parkade to accommodate CASA and the new Performing Arts Center. Nobody up here wanted to talk about that, especially people that were on part of council that decided for that. What really gets me with the crumbling infrastructure in this city, all the water mains and all the crumbling streets you see, we're going to spend $1.5 million on that in the next year and a half. And I think that's a bit disgusting. And as far as rocking the boat, I don't think we need to rock the boat, but we need to shake things up. And as far as hitting the ground running, I think when people say they're going to hit the ground running, I think they should just keep going. We need changes in council. We don't need any of the status quo. Thank you. Vote for me on May 12th, please.
Thank you, Pat Berthelot. Last but not least is Marco Bergeron. Please.
Hi, everybody. I'm growing in the family businesses all my life. So and I have my home business for 33 years now, and I was with a lots of committee and the board and everything like that. So, and also trusted, that's what I said before, and the school board, it's a municipal government. So we receive the money, we spend the money for the services and education, for different things. So I know how they works at government when we receive the money and how to spend and how to make a priority. So I know how they works. And so I'm the man to, and really engagement. And I like to leaders to engagement, other people to and try to believe what I say and believe it what you say too, and I try to understand everything. And I like to take a solution, but not on a long term, so a short term, to be make a priority and have a time to consultation. I like to make a consultation too. And of course, if I am elect, the first thing what I need to put in my head every day is your voice. So the other thing too, I like is say too, I don't want to do what I believe. I want to do what you believe and what you say. So I'm also visionary. So if you believe what I just say, please keep faith and make a difference. Vote for me Monday. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco Bergeron. I'm going to bring the forum to a close in a few minutes here. I'd like to, at this time, take the opportunity to thank the members of our media panel for coming here tonight and contributing. Your questions have been great, and your contribution to this type of forum is invaluable. So thank you for coming, and thank you to all the media outlets who are covering tonight. As I indicated at the start of the evening, the Lethbridge Chamber of Commerce wanted this forum to promote the interests of Lethbridge business. If you wish to learn more about the Chamber, I would encourage you to come speak with me at the conclusion of the forum, or you can contact the Chamber office, and please like our Facebook page. I'd like to extend my thanks to each of the candidates. It's no easy endeavor to run for municipal office. In doing so, you've each demonstrated your courage, your belief in your community, and your desire to make your community a better place for all of us. You tonight confined your issues to your comments to the issues at hand, and you did so with civility and class, and in that respect, you're each winners tonight. I'd like to thank the City of Lethbridge and the staff of the Yates Theatre for allowing us to once again use this wonderful facility for our forum. I'd like to thank Shaw TV. Shaw Community Channel 9 is going to be broadcasting this event. That's going to air on Saturday, May 10th. I don't have the exact time, but please look for that and encourage others to tune into that. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce Government Relations Committee and other members of the Chamber of Commerce Board who have been volunteering tonight, collecting questions, handing out tickets at the door, sorting questions, all that kind of thing. Finally, I want to thank, well, not quite finally, we'd like to thank Lethbridge Link again for providing the live stream for tonight's events. We'd like to thank Runner's Soul for providing the time clock tonight. And finally, I want to thank all of you, the audience, for coming to the forum tonight. Without you, this exercise would be kind of pointless. You came here to inform yourself of the issues and to put the candidates' feet to the fire, and you've done so. I hope you make good choices when you go to the ballots on Monday. When you leave here tonight, please have a safe journey home. Thank you and good night.